from Hong Kong, and I am your treasurer in CASOP. I've been a Catholic since I was 12, so not the same like the other committee members.
Okay, thanks, Rex. And what course do you study on?
Oh yeah, economics and politics. Sorry.
Economics and politics. Let me just see, is this still, okay, sorry. Yeah, I think there seems to be some kind of glitches. Katie.
I'm Katie. I'm CASOP's charity rep. I'm going into my second year of uni and I'm studying dentistry.
Okay. Thanks, Katie. And Samuel.
I'm Samuel. I'm going into my third year studying ancient and medieval history, and I'm the liturgy and worship representative.
Okay, thanks, Samuel. So we are actually live on Facebook, so please do do add state your comments, and if you've got any questions for our committee members, then we'll have the chance to actually ask them. So welcome all three of you. Maybe since we are a faith community, let's start with our faith stories. So maybe let's start with you, Rex. Maybe if you could tell us a bit about your faith journey.
Sure. So before Catholic, I was in China. I didn't know a lot about religion in itself. So I didn't even know Catholicism existed. I only knew Catholicism. I only came to Catholicism at the age of 10 when I came to England to a boarding school near York. It was a Catholic boarding school, and St. Martin's Ampleforth. It's called St. Martin's Ampleforth. And the school gave me an insight on what Catholicism was. It also made me realize there was more outside than nothing. Well, because in China I didn't know a lot, so I was very, very naive when I was in China. And so as I learnt my way through in school, in my Catholic school at the age of 10, I started to know a little bit more about Catholicism through masses, compline, all those services which you do, including choir singing. I joined the choir there and started to sing a lot of Latin pieces, which I honestly still don't know what it means, but it honestly gave me an insight on what Catholicism was, and I really do like singing a lot. So that really brought me into mainly brought me into Catholicism. I was baptized a year afterwards and became Catholic, and I was baptized by the school chaplain, and I felt something really special that day when I was baptized, and I still remember it now. And I don't know what it was, but I just felt something inside of me. And I knew that was a turning point in my faith journey, and started to learn more about Catholicism myself by actually going to more services, more activities which regarded to Catholicism itself, like Lectio Divina, Divine Office, Adoration, Benediction, Vespers. I can name all of them, but there were quite a lot of activities. since I was a Catholic school as well. Then I went to my senior years to Ampleforth College, which was the senior school of, so the junior school was St. Martin's and senior school was Ampleforth. Then I really began to learn what Catholicism was. So I started to learn from the Bible more, learn about the parables, miracles of Jesus, but also the Old Testament a little bit more in detail as well. But also the philosophy behind Christian theology, learning a bit about St. Augustine and Thomas Aquinas and others. But I started to learn a bit more about Catholicism and started to deepen my faith a bit more by actually praying more in depth within masses and within services. And so until my GCSE year, my faith was growing. But that year was another turning point, but it went to the wrong direction. I started to learn social sciences and humanities, so economics and politics, my degree. And that definitely was a turning point because in economics and politics, quite a lot of areas you shut out God himself, and it really made me ignore God at a point of time which was not a great point of time for me. But at the time I thought I was happy. I thought I was quite happy being interested in economics, interested in current affairs. But when I returned to Ampleforth after that summer, after my GCSE summer, I just realised, what have I done to Catholicism? And I've just left them for 2 months, and I started to just try to start from scratch. But I just couldn't do it in these 2 years because I was so drawn into economics and politics. So there were other factors as well, but mainly it was to do with my education. So when I came to university, I wanted to focus on my studies. I did because of my deep interests, but I had to try and get my Catholic side back up again because I had a foundation. I had to keep on going. And I remember constantly this phrase from my parents, never to give up on something which you pick up. And that really was very deep for me. And so I started to pick my faith up again by going to masses, by going to church a bit more, pray more. And I'm still trying and still doing it. I still believe my faith has not been regained to its full its strength compared to prior my GCSE years, but I am slowly coming back towards closer to God and towards the Christian community. And when I joined CAFSOC, I thought this would be another turning point for me in my faith, trying to learn more about others and also about Catholicism with others, trying to see Catholicism in many perspectives and trying to deepen my faith. And here I am now. My Catholic journey is very long, but it's because I know quite a lot of it. I quite quite a lot of it, since it's quite short for me, my Catholic journey, and it's quite a lot of steps from the age of 10. Before the age of 10, I didn't know anything, as I said. Sorry, I've been rambling quite a long time.
No. It was I was enjoying it. I think just as you were saying, speaking, I kind of thought to myself. I said, tell us your faith journey, and of course, it starts with a literal journey to another continent. As a young boy, but as you said, lots of turning points, and I mean, I think all of our faiths, there'll be lots of turning points to come down the line, but you're always progressing forward. Would you kind of agree with that sense?
I would say yes to some degree, but as I said, after my GCSE years, I was progressing forward in other aspects, but definitely not in my faith. I did go to an area, to a point of time where I just ignored God, which was not a great time for me. I thought I was happy at that time because of my interests in economics and politics, and I'm still really interested in it, given it's my degree. But now I'm going back, progressing forward, back up towards God.
And this time you're kind of slowly integrating your interest in economics and politics with that as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to do both at the same time now.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Rex. I mean, we'll see what people maybe if they want to ask a bit more around that. But let's say now, moving on to Katie. Would you tell us about your faith journey?
Okay, so I'm a cradle Catholic in the sense that I was born a Catholic, both my parents are Catholic. I went to a Catholic primary and secondary school, but I'd say that I didn't really start to think that deeply about my faith until I was about 13, 14. So it came to when I was making my confirmation. So my parents sort of decided that I would have my baptism and my communion. But then when I got to about 14, they said to me, this is your decision, it's your choice to be confirmed. And so from then on, I was like, oh, so it's my responsibility to deepen my faith. And so from 14, I took on that responsibility. So I was confirmed, and then I became a lot more involved in the church. I started flower arranging, so I was on the rota for that. And I really enjoyed that. I'm quite arty, so I really loved doing the flowers for church. I went to a Catholic secondary school. It used to be a convent, so we had a lovely little chapel, and I really enjoyed it. I loved my time there. But they never sort of forced religion on us. It was very much up to ourselves to deepen our own religion. And yeah, I'd say that the majority of people there, their parents were Catholic, but they themselves weren't. So there's a real mix. There's a real mix of religious people and non-religious people, and people from different religious backgrounds. And in some ways, I'd say that helped me quite a bit, because being surrounded with people who have different viewpoints, it helped me to deepen and strengthen my own views and sort of understand my own faith a lot more. So yeah, I'd say during my secondary school years, that's when I really sort of deepened my faith and became a committed Catholic. And yeah, I'd say that then coming to uni, I actually found that people were a lot more open about talking about their faith. A lot of my friends are from, I've got Jewish friends, Protestant Christian friends, Muslim friends, and being able to have sort of open conversations about faith has really helped me understand my faith a lot more and other people's faiths. And yeah, so coming to CAFSOC, meeting so many other like-minded Catholics has been really great. Maybe because I suppose in my secondary school, not many of us were very open about talking about faith. So coming to uni and meeting people who are committed to their religion has just been really great. And I say coming to uni I found it quite difficult trying to adjust to the uni lifestyle. And so definitely in the first few weeks, like going to CAFSOC really kept me grounded and really helped me a lot.
And of course, as the charity representative, you've clearly got a strong interest in the kind of social dimension of Catholicism. Can you say a bit about how that interest came about, or what sparked that?
I've always like really enjoyed sort of volunteering and things like that. I volunteered in my local church with the flower arrangements. Like the whole way through my secondary school, I volunteered in a care home for a good like chunk of my time at school. And just doing things for the community, I've just always really enjoyed. And so I thought the role of CAFSOC charity rep was quite well suited to me.
I mean, I'm just struck by, very early on, you used the word kind of taking responsibility for yourself, and that sense of responsibility really does come through. So thank you. Samuel, can you tell us about your faith journey?
Well, I'm definitely or decidedly not a cradle Catholic. My family are pretty much all secular. I'm the only religious person in my family. I never really considered philosophical or theological questions until my teenage years, and then was all the rage of all the new atheists. So I became a bit of a teenage edgy atheist, if you like, and I've still got somewhere up there full of Richard Dawkins books and that, and I used to argue. This is embarrassing, but I used to argue with my RE teacher and things like that. But one thing he did, he said perhaps he could see that as prideful as I was, and I was extremely prideful and sure of myself and my views, perhaps he could see that, well, he wants to know, he's interested in these things. So he told me for A-level, take a theology degree, not degree, A-level, do theology A-level. And so I said, at first I was like, nah, it's all a load of rubbish, isn't it? But, I reconsidered, I ended up doing it. Not so much the course itself, but it began to make me read different philosophers and stuff, like especially the classical Greeks and that. I ended up becoming a deist, a theist, and eventually, I suppose, probably 2 summers ago, I received impressions of religious dogma, as Cardinal Newman would say when he talks about his conversion. I began to learn more about Christianity. Part of it was spurred by my interest in history, and history is my passion, really. And I began to think my condescension towards religion, my disdain for it. These very same people, like you'd read, like about battles or like stories of, say, like the Victoria Cross or something like that, and then you'd be like, hang on, these very same people, they were all religious. Were they all? I mean, could they have all been silly? Well, it seemed to me unlikely. And actually, one of the things that happened was I remember this. Slowly and slowly, I changed my mind about Christianity and moreover Catholicism. One of the things that actually happened was that I remember I actually went to a Catholic sixth form, although this didn't I think I would have converted anyway. I don't think this affected me in the slightest, except maybe the grace of God worked in a special way, but I can't, who knows his ways? I certainly don't. I can't guess at it. But anyway, we actually looked, during this theology class, we were looking at ethics or something, and we looked at Humanae Vitae by Pope St. Paul VI. And this document struck me as completely prophetic. And everyone in the class, because you know what young people like with their politics and all that, they were slagging this document off. And I was like, hang on, this is quite prophetic actually. Like, he made a lot of predictions that were very sound, and that was another thing. Well, anyway, about 2 summers ago, I received these impressions of religious dogma, and I became a Christian. I must have spent perhaps 6 months. I was definitely not sold on this kind of view that the church is just just a bunch of people who believe in God, believe in Christ, and then there's nothing more to it than that. I became convinced that there was a church that was founded, and I must have spent 6 months discerning which denomination to join. And this was before I'd stepped foot in a mass. Like, all this was just study. Eventually I did. I embraced Catholicism. I actually have a Portuguese friend, and he was the first I told. He was very happy. Well, anyway, yeah. So I became a Catholic in my heart, although obviously not baptized or confirmed. May last year, 5th of May last year, I was baptized and confirmed and received First Holy Communion at Newman House. I must say, the things that have, I suppose, influenced my spirituality since, I very early on, by the same friend actually, got introduced to several things that are kind of key. I mean, the Holy Rosary is just, I mean, you can't really beat it. It's mental prayer and vocal prayer, and it's got like a physical element as well. And the meditations, it's just the bread and butter of my life, really. I can't say otherwise. So I discovered the Holy Rosary and devotion to Our Lady, and I also obviously began to go to Mass. And this same friend of mine says, you want to see if there's a Latin Mass in your area, you know, it's quite good. I ended up going to the Latin Mass, the Oratory, a lot. As Ursula said, it was a big part of her spiritual upbringing, and as it happened, it was also mine, part of mine. I love the quietness, the reverence of the low Mass and the grandeur of the high Mass. And so that was important as well. And I, like Rex, I started to go to Vespers and all these kind of things. Solemn Vespers on a Sunday. I ended up joining a group called the Little Brothers of the Oratory, which are like kind of how St. Philip Neri, who's my confirmation saint, began. He gathered young men about himself. He started as a layman, actually. So we always say, oh, we're the Little Brothers, we're the senior arm, not the priests. Well, anyway, so yeah, I got involved. It was a good spiritual fraternity. I ended up getting baptized, confirmed, devotion to Our Lady, and I suppose the last kind of thing that happened is I made my Marian consecration, a consecration to Our Lady. You see I wear a chain here. This is a symbol which St. Louis de Montfort recommended. And I made the consecration on, and also I made my first pilgrimage kind of at the same time. I made my consecration on 15th September, Our Lady of Sorrows. The previous day had been Exaltation of the Holy Cross, and we went on a pilgrimage to Walsingham. 15th, I made my consecration, and it was on a Sunday as well. And on the 16th, it was my birthday. So eventful 3 days. So that's where I am now. I'm beginning to read more now. I've kind of gone on a cycle, I suppose. Like, began with study, not really so much sacraments or devotions. I discovered all the devotions. became kind of obsessed with them, hence my role. Became obsessed with the Holy Mass, but now I've kind of gone back to study again a bit, come back around. I've started to read more. I've particularly like doing the office readings of reading the Fathers and St. Ignatius of Antioch and I like Justin Martyr's Apologies. I think they're quite brilliant. So yeah, I've kind of come back and reading more, and especially obviously our Cardinal Newman. So I've kind of gone back to study now, studying more, learning more, and that's where I am now. And also I've started to pray Divine Office. So yeah, still a long way to go, but that's it so far.
Thanks, Samuel. I think there's well, first of all, congratulations. You've just completed your first year as a Catholic. Is it a couple of months back? So, I mean, a baptized Catholic, as you said, you're Catholic in the heart before that. But also, I think I'm also struck again, this idea of journey, and sometimes we sort of go back to the same thing, but as different people and at different stages in our life, and we discover something, different. So in your case, study, I guess. I guess now I'll start, maybe the question to all three of you then now is, we're obviously still in lockdown. There've been some relaxation, but by and large, we're all still in lockdown because of COVID-19. So maybe just starting with you, Sam, how have you been affected by the outbreak or by the lockdown?
Well, to be honest, perhaps it's a bit of a premature answer because obviously we've seen the questions beforehand. Audience, we've seen the questions beforehand. So this might be more suited of an answer to the next question or one of the next questions. But I think what sums it up for me is, well, first of all, I had a bit of anxiety. And I suppose if you were to describe my temperament, you could say I'm a phlegmatic in many ways. If that's, I don't remember how the temperaments work now. I might have said the wrong one, but I don't tend to worry that much. When it began, I actually had a lot of anxiety, especially because I use public transport. So that was one reason. And yeah, those packed trains in the Redditch to Brum line, it ain't no joke. Like, everyone's packed tight together. It's hardly ideal. So yeah, that anxiety to begin with. But if I may, today is actually not just Corpus Christi. Today is St. Barnabas as well, Feast of St. Barnabas the Apostle. And funnily enough, yesterday I read, coincidentally, I just opened a random sermon, and it was a sermon for the Feast of St. Barnabas by John Newman. And I think this might, I've got a quotation here. Be our mind as heavenly as it may be, most loving, most holy, most zealous, most energetic, most peaceful, yet if we look off him, capital H, for a moment, and look towards ourselves, at once these excellent tempers fall into some extreme or mistake. Charity becomes over easiness, holiness is tainted with spiritual pride, zeal degenerates into fierceness, activity eats up the spirit of prayer, hope is heightened into presumption. We cannot guide ourselves. God's revealed word is our sovereign rule of conduct. And yet, so I kind of had to learn to trust in God. And there's a priest, Father Richard Duncan, I think that's his name. I've forgotten his surname, but he talks about a lot in his sermons about trustful abandonment. And I think St. Teresa of Lisieux talked about it a lot. And it was a big, so first of all, I had the anxieties, the worries. I ended up trying to embrace this abandonment into the hands of God. And so I've kind of gotten used to it now, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be weird when things go back to normal. That's what I think at this point, this rate. But yeah, I've basically been trying to use the time usefully. I've been making rosaries, been doing the devotions at Castle, and I've been learning Latin. I've got a Latin module next year, so it should take some weight off my shoulders to learn a bit of Latin. So yeah. Oh, but no, I was going to say that would be a premature answer, what I'm going to say next. So I'll save that in the hope that this question will be asked.
Okay. Katie?
Okay, so personally, I find that but in uncertain times, I don't like that. I find it really hard to deal with things like that. But my faith in God and my religion has helped me so much. Like it sort of just keeps me grounded, and helps relieve so much anxiety, because these are like really worrying times, especially when it started. It was quite scary, especially when I was at uni. I just kind of wanted to get home. Um, and yeah, and I think times like this sort of just remind us how vulnerable we all are, and so something like that has such a big impact on all of our lives. And so just by knowing that God is in control and God is there for me, really helps me through a lot of these things. But yeah, other than that, I've quite enjoyed being at home. I mean, all my family are at home, so we've never spent this much time together, which has been great. I get on really well with my sisters, so it's been nice spending time with them. I don't see them at uni. And yeah, I've been able to sort of get back into the hobbies that I left when I moved away. So I've been doing lots of painting and drawing, picked up my guitar again, which is good. And yeah, so I've quite enjoyed it really. Although I'm looking forward to seeing my friends again and like socializing. But yeah, hasn't been too bad.
Good. Everyone's picking up hobbies. I've got to pick one up. Rex, how's the last few months been for you?
Well, at first I thought it would be really easy for me since I like being alone sometimes, but obviously I didn't expect it to be like so long. And so I haven't experienced this before, like for a long time, but after a month through lockdown, I started to be homesick, started to miss my parents. I've actually haven't seen my parents for over a year now, or both of them together. I've seen my mum coming to England from time to time, but never my dad. My dad's too busy in Shanghai. So I haven't seen them for over a year and started to get a little bit homesick after a month. But after a lot of reassurance from my friends and also Catholic community and also my parents as well, trying to give me a lot of advice, which has been really helpful, has kept me on my feet and also kept me reading, working, exercising, doing a lot of new stuff. I'm trying to get my Chinese back up again through a textbook which my mum gave me. I'm also learning the theories, driving theory. I'm learning how to drive soon. Well, hopefully, after the lockdown. So at the moment, I'm absolutely fine. But as I said, during the lockdown, I did experience some homesickness and even some anxiety, but it was only, I say it's only temporary, but it does affect me at times. However, reading really helps me, and also, of course, TVs and films, my favorite thing. But I like doing a variety of stuff, and actually I do have a lot of stuff to do. Thinking about it, I do have a lot of stuff to do. If you think through it and you think a routine every single day and start writing it down in a timetable or something, you've actually got quite a lot of stuff to do. And so I'm constantly busy every single day in my home. So yeah.
Well, thanks, Rex. I mean, thanks to all three of you for being, I'm really struck by the openness and honesty with which you're prepared to share about this period. And I think a lot of the students watching this video, whether on Newman House or eventually on the CATSOC YouTube channel, that I think they will really relate to that, and they'll know that, you know, that ultimately the CATSOC is made of real people, real students, you know, who are experiencing the same things that they are. But since we're on to CATSOC, I'm going to ask each of you to basically just tell us your actual, you know, bit about your role at CATSOC and what it is that CATSOC has been doing so far, because your terms kind of started a few weeks or maybe a month into lockdown. So really most of the first part of your term has been in lockdown. So maybe let's start with you, Katie. If you can just tell, what does the charity rep do, and what have you been doing, or CATSOC been doing in that area the last month and a half or so?
Okay, yeah. So I think charity is like such an important part of our faith. I think being active in our faith is so key to sharing it with other people and caring for other people. So my role like mostly involves organising charity events. So every term we have at least one charity event. And yeah, so this term has been quite difficult to organise. So I came up with the idea of running a charity run. So we're getting lots of people across CATSOC involved. We're collectively running the distance from Birmingham to Walsingham, and it's to raise money for St Vincent de Paul. And yeah, it's been really great. We've had so many people getting involved. We've actually managed to hit the target distance, so we're going to run the distance back again, which should be interesting. Should be good. We'll be able to do it. It'll be fine. So yeah, it's been really great, and I think it's a good way for us to all sort of keep connected, even though we're all split up all over the country. So yeah, so it's been good.
Now that you've all run to Walsingham, you've got to run back.
Yes, we need to get home again.
Bring CATSOC home.
Yeah.
Thanks. Samuel, what does the liturgy and worship coordinator do, and what have you been doing?
Essentially, well, there's no public mass at the moment, unfortunately, or any other liturgy. But essentially, at the moment, what I essentially do is run the devotions that we do, prayer in common. The main one is the Rosary, and I work closely. To be honest, I work closely with Francis because he's big on it as well, and so he does a lot of like Lectio Divina and Bible study, whereas I do like Rosary and Divine Office. But as for more in general, I've got to lend a hand to the liturgies, to Holy Mass, and to the adoration on Thursdays and that, and trying to get groups going of recreation and prayer and that. So yeah, that's essentially it. Try and kind of exhort both myself in many ways, because to be honest, I'm going to be, but I would, as I mentioned earlier, how much I liked the Office of Readings. I wouldn't probably not be reading that every day if I hadn't like made it an event in CATSOC, because it's made me commit to doing it every day, or every weekday at least. So partly myself, but also to exhort others to the sweetness of prayer, devotions, and things like this. So that's basically my role. Oh, and if I could say quickly, yes, this was something I was reluctant to say last time about the lockdown. What sums it up for me, what sums up this whole role for me, and this made it worth it in one stroke. One thing, I was just like, yeah, God has led me aright. I remember now I host the well, we don't use Zoom anymore, we use Google Meets. Now I host the calls, but Francis used to host them, and I remember the day after I was elected, I was the only person running, but I got elected. What's his face? Reopen nominations was a really tough opponent, but commiserations to it. But yeah, the day after I got elected, I remember we went for our daily rosary, and I remember Francis saying, like, why don't we all say Hail Mary, a glory be, and Our Father for our new liturgy and worship rep? And everyone prayed for me, and that was a gift sweeter than any golden, solid gold bar. You can't beat that kind of that kind of bond that we built up through the rosary. That just summed up the whole role for me. So I really like it now. I'm comfortable.
Although I must say that I was just looking over at Rex's video, and when you said solid gold bar, Rex's treasurer was thinking, oh, we could use that. So, Rex, do you want to tell us, what does the treasurer of CAPSOC do?
The treasurer of CAPSOC is I basically need to manage money in and out and make sure there's enough funds to fund the events which Prabhu wanted to. So the list he said in the last interview, which is a lot, he's got a lot of ambitions. So I need to make sure that I've got enough funds to make that happen. And I also need to make sure that I am not an economics student. Otherwise I'll like cut down spending and try and like be there for the community and try and be a Catholic, not be my economic side, which is what I tend to attempt to do. But yeah, I wanted to say something about CAPSOC's main source of funding, which is grants, annual grants and rolling grants, but also from the chaplaincy. And last year we had a lot of our sales from tickets, so that's going to be hard this year, but we will adapt. I'll find a way, definitely. And last year's budget was around like £1,800. I believe this year would be a little bit lower since we won't have as much events on. So I was thinking around 1,000 to 1,500 range as a start, and make sure the events, for example, talent show, bonfire night. I know this is all in the future, but I'm just listing what Prabhu thinks at the moment, probably, hopefully. He's probably got a lot more down, but like the end of year ball, social events, the Saley band, that was quite successful last year, so the Kaylee band, in fact. And also the main goal for Prabhu and the whole of the community and the whole of CAPSOC is to expand our community. So we want to try and expand it through the promotion of events and making sure the Catholic sphere is expanded towards the whole of university, making sure that we reach to a new benchmark. So last year, at the beginning of this year, at 2020, I researched how many members there were in CAPSOC. It was around 65 members to 70. So I want to make sure this year, and we will, as Yoda said, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess it up. There's no try. Do or do not, there's no try. There we go.
Well done, you got it. You got there. Do or do not.
So we will do it. We will make it to the 100 mark this year, and make sure we expand our community, consolidate our community, and move forward in this. Hopefully, move forward in this crisis.
Okay. Thanks, Lex. All right, then very quickly for all of you, and by the way, those of you watching live, if you've got any questions, you can ask them to the audience. But very quickly to all three of you, in maybe, and you can take a half a minute to think about this if you want. In one sentence, what are you most looking forward to with CATSOC this year? So I'll just give you half a minute. What are you most looking forward to with CATSOC this year? And Samuel, you good to go?
Well, if I may quote the psalmist, behold how goodly for brethren to dwell in unity. Prayer in common.
Prayer in common. Katie?
Definitely sort of expanding CASTOC, meeting new people and welcoming like more first years. Yeah, and just meeting new people and socializing, and yeah.
Rex?
I don't want to copy the other two, but it was pretty much to meet our CAFSOC community again.
I mean, it's not copying. It's actually. I mean, I was just struck when you were all saying just you know, despite your kind of different interest areas and different portfolios, you know, you can really sense that kind of unity of vision to what you're doing. So thank you all for that. Right, are you now? This is the part that I've been working on all day. This is the rapid fire round. You ready for it?
Right.
Okay, so let me explain. This is a word association round. So I'll say a word and you say the first PG-13 word that comes to mind. And now, interestingly, there is actually a connection between the words that each person gets. So if you're able to spot that, you know, bonus points. All right. So who'd like to go first? Let's see. Rex, shall we go with you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the first word is, well, let's start with a nice religious word. Grace.
Grace.
Sorry, what did you say?
Sorry, I just repeated it.
Yeah, just say the first word that comes to mind.
Ampleforth.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Right. Dance.
Idiotic. I don't know why I thought that. It's not idiotic. I like dance, but that was my first word, and yeah, I regret it. But
Birthday.
sorry.
Birthday.
Birthday. Hong Kong.
Oh, nice. Law.
Law. Law is law. This is what my mum said every single time to me. The law is law, follow the law. So,
Law is the law. Okay. That's your word. Finally, debate.
politics.
Politics. Oh, perfect. That's great. Let me see. Samuel, you ready to go?
Aye.
Okay. Right. Your first word is sleepy.
Head.
Head. Crime.
Punishment.
Nice. Dostoevsky. King.
Royal.
Way.
Actually, Latin came in my head.
Yeah, go on. Via.
Via Latina.
Okay. And chance.
Dice.
Dice. Okay. Is anyone getting the connections yet? No? Katie, shall we go to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Your first word, morning.
Sleepy.
Sleepy. Withdrawal.
Oh, difficulty.
Difficulty. Room.
Messy.
Messy. Sleep.
Enjoyment.
Oh. And finally, intercession.
I just thought Our Lady Mary.
Oh, Our Lady Mary. Yeah. Still no. Any guesses as to the words? No. Well, okay. They were. I'll just tell you. They were based on the decades of the Rosary. So, Rex, I asked you grace, which is from the first joyful mystery, Hail Mary, full of grace. Dance, the baby danced within Elizabeth's womb. Birthday, the nativity. Law, the law of Moses, offering the firstborn. And finally, debate, Jesus stayed behind to debate in the temple. And Samuel, yours were sleepy, because the disciples were sleepy in the garden. Crime, the punishment for a lesser crime, the scourging. King, the crowning with thorns. Way, you actually got there, Via Crucis. And chance, and again you got that dice. The soldiers played dice. That was a connection. And Katie's were the glorious mysteries. Morning, Easter morning. Withdrawal, Jesus was withdrawn from the sight of the disciples. Room, the upper room. Sleep is another term for the mystery of the Assumption, is the dormition or sleep of Mary. And finally, intercession. Mary as Queen of Heaven intercedes for us. So you did actually get Mary. I thought you were just on the verge of getting it, but it's like. Now, actually, Francis has a question on the video. So tell us more about the CathSoc YouTube channel. What is that all about? Who would like to tell us?
Sure. The CathSoc YouTube channel is supposed to inform everyone in university more CathSoc themselves. It can include interviews like this. I think this interview is going to be on YouTube, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and interviews like this, and also stories of some sort of, or some speaker maybe is even on YouTube. So we want people to watch these to gain a better perspective of Catholicism, and to consolidate their faith and strengthen them. And this is a way to make people know about it, adapting to today's technological world. We're using YouTube to not only allow people in university, but also all around the world as well to watch our videos and gain a perspective or even an insight, like I was when I was 10 years old, to gain an insight on what Catholicism was, to gain new people to see what Catholic is. And I think YouTube will allow to do that, but mainly for university, for this year at least. But we want to develop it to a even national, global. Even we've got very big ambitions.
No, that's brilliant. Sorry, did you want to say something, Samuel?
Yes. Well, I've got very few video making skills. I used to have a history video channel called Basil II, the Bulgar Slayer, named after the Byzantine emperor. A bunch of angry Bulgarians turned up in my comments. They weren't happy with my name choice. But it was 1,000 years ago, so maybe they should get over it. Well, anyway, these angry people. He says to me, most Bulgarians like my channel. Well, anyway, I have few skills. but from my perspective, I was planning to contribute to the YouTube channel in terms of explaining the what we do, about the different devotions, about the importance of prayer and things like this. I have actually got a YouTube channel. This is, oh, I'm sorry, I've just realised I've drifted into advertisement now. I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Totus Tuus. And it's like my thing. It's got a picture of Alfred the Great as my image. Pray for us. And if he's up there, probably. But anyway, basically it's just I've recorded audio book versions of the Bible, and yesterday that sermon I quoted from St. John Henry Newman, I recorded that, so that's on there. But anyway, it's going to be similar to that. There is so much depth to the scriptures and these devotions. You'd never guess, would you? I remember I've been reading the Glories of Mary recently by St. Alphonsus, and he talks all about the interpretations of the, for example, Psalm 22 or 23 in the Masoretic numbering, says, the Lord's my shepherd, I shall want for nothing. And it says, thy rod and thy staff, they have been with me. And Our Lady is called, it says, out of the rod of Jesse, the prophet says. So, according to a number of learned doctors, that this rod is Our Lady. So when the psalmist says, thy rod has been a comfort to me, it's actually talking about the intercession of Our Lady. I never would have guessed that. This is like expanding breadth. So if I can introduce people to this through this YouTube channel and in the depths, especially the sacred canticles, I think they're wonderful and they have much depth to them. So yeah, that's for my part. That's how I plan to contribute.
Yeah. Katie, final word on the YouTube channel?
I think everything's been said. Yeah, it's just another way for us to reach out to people across campus. And I think a lot of the time we can, with faith societies, it can seem quite a sort of enclosed group. And just to let people know that we're very welcoming to whether you're Catholic or if you're not a Catholic. Yeah, just to invite more people and tell people what we're about.
Great stuff. Well, I really look forward to seeing it. I'm actually delighted because it's sort of like I've before I came to Birmingham, I was at Manchester, and I kept thinking, oh gosh, wouldn't it be great if there were a YouTube channel? But I was always too busy to actually do that. But I'm just absolutely chuffed that the CATSOC is doing this. So great, and thank you all for joining us today. And it's been a great interview. This is obviously has been live on the Newman House Facebook channel, so it will stay there, but I think you will also upload it onto the YouTube channel of CATSOC eventually, so people will have a chance to meet all of you and really get a sense of what CATSOC is about. Just before I go for the final blessing, I just wanted to point out that we've been in this lockdown situation now for about 3 months, and Zoom has been a godsend. I think in a sense, if it hadn't been for technology, this kind of interview would have been quite difficult to set up, but it's really helped to bring it together. And I think Zoom can be, it can be a significant moment for our faith. Of course, not everything in our faith is can be shared on Zoom. Easter Sunday did not happen on Zoom. So hopefully before long, we will get the chance to actually be with each other physically again, possibly with some social distancing, but that we will be able to gather together and have the Eucharist. And on that note, I just want to say something to all the students watching this. As you might have heard, the government will be allowing churches and other places of worship to open for private prayer on Monday. And there are a lot of conditions around this. So that there's only social distancing has to be maintained. There can only be a certain number of people in the place of worship of the church at any given time. And what that means is that churches are going to need lots of volunteers who are, at the door to kind of regulate people coming in, make sure they sanitize their hands and so on, kind of disinfect afterwards, things like that. And it's very important for people at this time to pray, because there will be a lot of people who've got things on their mind, things they're anxious about, people they're worried about, and they just want to pray before the Blessed Sacrament, or just pray in a quiet space, or just even have a little bit of time to themselves in that kind of quiet and reflective space. So one of the ways that you could help is to bring your parish priest, because parishes up and down the country, even the ones that have lots of volunteers, are probably going to struggle at this time, because a lot of these volunteers there might be people who are retired or 70 plus and themselves shielding, or have underlying health conditions, which means that they can't actually help out in this way. Young people who are working or have families, of course, can't help out. But this is a situation that's tailor-made for you students. So my appeal to you is bring your parish priest, make an offer to help. And even if your own parish does not feel that it can open up, it might be that there's another parish nearby. So this is actually a great chance for you, the young adults of the church, to really come to the forefront and help out. So bring your parish priest. That's my appeal to you. Now, if I can just offer you a blessing. May the Lord bless you abundantly in all that you do. May you always give glory to his name. And may you always stand as a shining beacon of hope, joy, and faith for all your contemporaries. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.